Hello, good morning. This is the news at 10, reaching you live from Abuja. I am Tessie Omeri. Let's begin with the headlines. Nigeria's national carrier to take flight in April 2022. President Buhari laments oil spill in Bayelsa, says problem will be speedily addressed. Bill prohibiting counterfeiting and protecting trademark owners in Nigeria passes second reading at Senate. Those were the headlines on the news at 10 on NTA News 24. Let's begin with fallout from the Federal Executive Council meeting. All things being equal, Nigeria Air, the nation's national carrier, will take to the skies in April 2022. This followed approval of the outline business case for the project by the Federal Executive Council. Minister of Aviation Hadi Sirika announced this while briefing journalists after the meeting of the council presided over by President Muhammadu Buhari. State House correspondent Adamu Sambo reports.
This is the sixth and perhaps the last time the Federal Executive Council under the Buhari presidency will be considering the outline business case for the establishment of the national carrier.
Nigeria Air, which of course, if you remember back in time, this was subject to national debate, and 400,000 people participated to choose the name, the color, the logo, everything. And it was produced that time. And it was launched also in Farnborough as far back as 2018.
The structure of the proposed airline indicates that government will be owning not more than 5% of the equity share and 46% by Nigerian entrepreneurs. The remaining 49% will be held by what the minister called strategic equity partners to be sourced during the procurement phase of the project.
This airline, if started and within the first few years, will generate about 70,000 jobs. These 70,000 jobs, they are higher than the total number of civil servants that we have in the country. Its importance had been well discussed, but one important item is the AU Agenda 2063, which speaks to integration of Africa, which speaks to the commerce and trade within Africa, that is intra-Africa. The quickest way that you can integrate Africa is by air. Once the right policy is in place, like SATEM, you can connect Africa, and then, of course, the needed integration will happen.
Hadi Sirika also secured the council's approval of a 1.49 billion naira contract for the provision of automated civil aviation regulatory equipment called the Truth Machine for the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, Abuja.
This is a software that will allow all of the activity of civil aviation regulation to be done electronically on one platform, including payments, including follow-up on personnel licensing, the medicals, the economic regulation of airlines, safety regulation of airlines, and all other businesses within the envelope of civil aviation will be monitored by this single software. All of the truth of regulation of civil aviation will appear on this platform. It's an extremely important software that the world has now come to terms with.
Also approved by the council is the award of contract for the provision of training, logistics, operational equipment, and maintenance support under the Integrated National Surveillance and Waterways Protection Solution infrastructure in Nigeria.
This is more like a recurrent expenditure for the Deep Blue project. If you stop by purchase of petroleum, payment of allowances, and the size that you need to insert cameras and all that, then it won't function. So that's what this seeks to achieve. There's huge improvement in the security in our waterways now. and we hope that it will continue as we progress.
Over 6.3 billion naira is to be expended on the project aimed at enhancing the safety and security in Nigeria's maritime domain as well as the Gulf of Guinea for economic development. From the State House, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
Many thanks, Adamu Sambu. Still on the outcome of the Federal Executive Council meeting, with the oil sector now contributing only 7.49% to the nation's GDP and 92% by the non-oil sector, the Buhari administration's economic diversification drive has been achieved. The Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Zainab Ahmed, stated this at a media briefing after the meeting of the Federal Executive Council. State House correspondent, again Adam Musambo, has details.
Finance Minister Zainab Ahmed briefed the Council on the third quarter GDP report for 2021 released last Thursday by the National Bureau of Statistics. Amongst others, the report, which shows a growth of 4.03%, made it clear that Nigeria has recorded 4 consistent quarters of economic growth.
The Nigerian economy is truly very, very diversified. We aspire to continue to push this growth to the point when the growth supersedes the growth in our population, because that's the time that people will actually feel the benefits. So we're pushing the bar. At the third quarter of 2021, the average annual growth is now 3.3%. Our population growth is roughly about 3.2%. So we still need to do a lot more for people to feel this. But the fact that the service sector is now in positive territory, it also means that people will actually begin to feel the difference, because that's where it's the service sector that has the first direct impact on people.
Factors that are responsible for the upward trajectory include government's commitment to the containment of the COVID-19 pandemic, the implementation of fiscal and monetary measures to support businesses as contained in the Economic Sustainability Plan, as well as the improvement in the rail, transport and other services sector of the economy.
Also reported is the inflation numbers for the month of October 2021 at 15.99%. This is consistent with the decline that we have seen in inflation from April 2021 to date. We expect this decline to continue through the rest of the year and also throughout the year 2022. We've seen also improvement in the financial services sector with higher supplementary incomes compared to 2020. There's been improvement in electricity generation and distribution during this quarter, as well as improvement in water supply, sewage and waste management and remediation activities.
The minister also gives an update on the 5,000 naira transport subsidy being considered as succor to Nigerians for the eventual removal of fuel subsidy. This followed the provision of the Petroleum Industry Act that petroleum products must be fully deregulated.
The intervention we want to provide, we said between 20 to 40 million people, and there's still a lot of work going on. We already agreed it would be 5,000 naira, and we also agreed that the remittances have to be done digitally, so the e-naira will help. This money is meant to provide relief to the very poor and the very vulnerable. And from the experience that we have had on the conditional cash transfer, it shows that that 5,000 naira that some people think is small, it actually makes a difference to families.
The intervention period, the minister explained, will last between 6 to 12 months, saying the register of beneficiaries is already being developed by the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development with the active involvement of the state governments. From the State House, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
Minister of State Petroleum Resources Timipri Silva has undertaken an on-the-spot assessment of the oil spill site of ITO Eastern Exploration Company in Bisambri, Bayelsa State. The minister accompanied Benga Komolafe, Chief Executive Officer, CEO of Nigeria Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission, the traditional ruler of Opunembe Kingdom, King Biobelomoye Josiah, Israel Adi, member of House of Representatives representing Brass Nembe constituencies, said the president is very concerned about the spill. That is why he sent delegation to come and have an on-the-spot assessment of the situation. The minister reiterates that President Buhari feels the pains of the people and wants urgent steps taken to address the problem. He gave an assurance government will not allow further degradation of the environment and will take urgent measures to tackle the situation. ITO on November 5th reported a major oil leak from its oil mining lease OML 29 in Nembe, Bayelsa State. And from the National Assembly, the production and marketing of counterfeit products in Nigeria have had a long history, but the legislative intervention of the 9th Senate is set to reverse the trend. The legislators are considering a bill that seeks to protect owners of trademarks and copyright and to provide stiffer penalties for defaulters. National Assembly correspondent Ignatius Nkwo reports.
Senator Ibikunle Amosun is leading this parliamentary movement against manufacture, sales and consumption of counterfeit products. The bill, which has passed second reading, is expected to ensure efficient prevention and prosecution of offenders while protecting trademark and consumers from unwholesome products.
The Counterfeit Bill 2021 also seeks to introduce measures to further protect owners of trademark against counterfeit of their goods, protect consumers from dangerous counterfeit goods, and ensure that appropriate revenue accrues to government from trademark owners of goods.
I think it can only increase internal production once we strengthen this bill, once we strengthen our laws and we've stopped or minimized the amount of counterfeit goods that come into the country.
The bill that seeks to repeal the Infrastructure Concession Regulatory Commission Act 2005 and enact the Public-Private Partnership Regulatory Commission, sponsored by Senator Adamu Alero, and the Institute of Border Studies, Kosubosu, Barotin, Kwara Establishment Bill, sponsored by Senator Sadiq Umar, also passed second reading.
It will address the security problem of our border communities. It will help to strengthen the nation's already porous borders in line with global standards.
Provide a revolving trust fund that shall enable project development funding, viability gap funding, and the creation of national PPP project libraries.
If you go to China today, all the roads you see, no matter how short or long that road is, you will see a toll gate, and it's managed by an entity.
We need to encourage the private sector to participate in the development of infrastructure in our country.
Senate paid tribute to Umaru Sani, former clerk of both chambers of the National Assembly, who died a few days ago. President of the Senate, Ahmad Lawan, granted audience to the Turkish ambassador to Nigeria, Hidayat Barakta, who sought for an improved relations among parliament of the two countries.
The parliamentarian dimension of our relations is not too strong.
I want to also take this opportunity to assure you that the parliament here in Nigeria, the National Assembly, particularly the Senate, will be glad to have a parliamentary relationship with the Turkish Grand Parliament.
The president of Turkey had visited Nigeria in October as part of his mini tour of 3 African countries. From the National Assembly, Ignatius Nkwo, NTA News.
Still talking trades. What do you know about interstate trade in Nigeria and how to make the local communities viable? Well, it is a start point for achieving success of the African Continental Free Trade Area in Nigeria as the federal government takes the African Continental Free Trade Agreement campaign to state governments. Leah Katumba Batundi completes the story.
In the midst of scarce revenue, one thing remains certain. Nigeria is a vast market space and a land of opportunity. Since signing the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement in 2019, Nigeria has continued to develop the strategy that will ultimately be beneficial to all. Hence, the interface between the National Action Committee on AFCFTA and subnationals. Access to market is critical. It is a wake-up call for subnationals to increase local investments and promote backward integration across sectors that include logistics, supply chains and transportation infrastructure, first for local demand before exports.
We are aware that the era of oil is almost going, and then we have to develop our economy, and we have to provide all the necessary support for the economy to grow so that our people can benefit from the development of the economy. Jobs can be created away from oil and government.
The Action Committee has zoned states according to their peculiarities and readiness for trade to work out policies that would ensure smooth market entry.
At the end of today, we'll be able to say, yes, these are the products that we'll be focusing on. These are the capabilities that we need to build.
All economic sectors, tiers of government, and human capacities must be involved.
After the strategy workshop, outcomes will be communicated to governors and included in the national strategy on AFCFTA. In Abuja, Leah Katung-Babatunde, NTA News.
The Accountant General of the Federation, Ahmed Idris, advocates evolution of strategies and practices to manage pandemic-induced financial challenges. Details with Alika Okpanachi-Arua on Business News.
The Accountant General of the Federation, Ahmed Idris, has called on managers of the country's economy, economic experts, and critical stakeholders in the country's economy to come up with strategies and practices that could be deployed in the effective management of inevitable financial challenges such as that caused by COVID-19 pandemic. Idris made the call at a two-day National Treasury workshop in Uyo, Akwa Ibom State, with the theme COVID-19 and the global economy, implications on the Nigerian National Treasury. The workshop was meant to provide a forum for economic experts, officials of the federal and state government, the academia, and the private sector to brainstorm and come up with effective strategies for managing national economies in the face of pandemics and other global disasters. He also maintained that the reality of the pains inflicted on the Nigerian economy and the national treasury by the COVID-19 pandemic has made it imperative to fashion out ways to effectively manage the economy during pandemics and handle any pandemic-induced financial challenges. And to the details of Wednesday trading on the floor of the exchange. With business news, Alika Okpanachi-Arua.
Many thanks, Alika. The news at 10 is reaching you live from Abuja. Let's break now. More reports when we return. Thank you for staying with us. Now to security matters. The recent disruption of movement of travelers on the Abuja-Kaduna highway due to banditry has caught the attention of the House of Representatives during plenary Wednesday. House members urged security agencies to take action and curb the attacks. National Assembly correspondent Lami Ali reports that Representative Hassan Nalaraba raised the issue.
Deliberated as a matter of urgent public importance, resurgence of banditry along the Abuja-Kaduna road, the lawmakers said, should be decisively tackled.
Taking on attack consistently, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I think is something that the security agency needs to do something about it. And it's in particular area called Regina. And this Regina, there are a series of security reports that bandits are being grouped in Regina.
The House therefore wants a monthly report and quarterly briefing from security agencies on combating insecurity. The House passed a resolution to investigate the non-implementation of the National Cancer Control Plan 2018 to 2022 launched by the federal government as moved by Representative Segun Odebumi.
In 2018 alone, Nigeria recorded an estimated of 116,000 new cancer cases with 41,000 mortalities. And since then, the mortality rate keeps increasing.
Following a motion from Representative Gudaji Kazauri on implementation of the Presidential Youth Empowerment Scheme, the House mandated relevant committees to interface towards ensuring funding for the scheme, just as it urged relevant government agencies to address the plight of communities in Delta states over devastation caused by ocean surge.
The recent flood has not only rendered the residents of the community homeless, but also pose a threat to health of the residents, which may lead to disease outbreak, thus increasing the risk of transmitting COVID-19 as residents has resorted to makeshift settler.
4 bills passed second reading, including a bill to rename University of Ilorin Teaching Hospital and a bill to establish Federal Polytechnic Ayete in Oyo State.
Due to state creation, the annex has now been situated in Kogi State, while the parent owner is situated in Kwara. And this disconnect has led to several problems, like lack of funds.
The establishment of this Federal Polytechnic in Ayete will create job opportunities, not only for the indigenes of Ayete, but for all Nigerians.
The bill amending Institute of Chartered Chemists of Nigeria Act was passed from the National Assembly. Lami Ali, NTA News.
The leadership of the House of Representatives Committee on Defense, Army and Air Force have pledged to support initiatives that can reposition the Nigerian Armed Forces. This was when members of Implementation and Advisory Committee on Armed Forces Reforms came on advocacy visits to lawmakers. National Assembly correspondent Dayo Ogunshola reports.
This advocacy engagement between the 24-member Implementation and Advisory Committee on the reforms of Ministry of Defense and Armed Forces and House of Representatives is part of the strategic moves by the committee to deliver on its mandate, particularly implementation of the approved recommendations of the Presidential Committee on the reforms.
Reforming the MOD and FN will also ensure that we have an FN that is affordable for the national economy, while sufficient in size, structure, training and equipment to respond effectively to both conventional and asymmetric warfare.
Leadership of the three House committees believe the engagement is timely.
Let me mention here that the House of Representatives is willing to work with your committee to ensure the implementation of the approved recommendations of the Presidential Defense Reforms Committee to review Nigeria's defense architecture.
By the reform generally, if they are meant to understand that respect for human rights, if you do not respect it internally, the global politics will force you to respect it.
So your advice can be very, very important in this regard, and we thank you for approaching us. This will not end up. We will continue to interact and with the foreign chairman. If there are any information you can avail us, we can always continue to have.
Participants expressed optimism that this type of high-level engagement will continue to give the needed impetus to the nation's armed forces. From the National Assembly, Dayo Ogunshola, NTA News.
Meanwhile, Army War College Nigeria is strengthening relationship between the three services of the armed forces and other agencies to overcome national security challenges in the country and beyond. This formed part of the graduation lecture of Course 5 of 2021 participants of the college. Abubakar Usman Akwanga reports.
Synergy amongst the three services of the Nigerian Armed Forces has been described as a sure way to clip in the wings of notorious syndicates terrorizing parts of the country. Now, for the 2021 graduates of the Army War College Nigeria, the new approach is on strengthening the existing relationships for a stable country and secured future.
Without doubt, jointness amongst the three services is highly imperative to fostering comprehensive approach to national security in our nation. It is against this backdrop that the topic for this graduation lecture, Enhancing Jointness in the Armed Forces of Nigeria, My Perspective, is indeed apt.
To the Chief of Defense Staff, a more sophisticated measure and attitudinal change are being evolved to match present security reality of emerging threat to national unity.
In response to these very interests, the Armed Forces of Nigeria have continued to support the police and other security agencies towards containing the situation by making several security interventions through activation of several internal security operations which cut across the geopolitical zones.
The 63 participants who cut across Army, Navy, Air Force and other relevant security agencies are expected to drive the required change at domestic, regional and global levels. In Abuja, Abubakar Usman Akwanga, NTA News.
And not done with security matters. In these days of heightened insecurity, it is reassuring that the Nigerian police says it is working round the clock to bring policing and service delivery closer to the people. To this effect, an application for mobile phone users to report emergency security challenges for prompt response in crime fighting is up and running. Let's join Ilyas Onotu Yakubu in this report to tell us more about the NPF Rescue Me app.
A smart technology that allows users to request for specific help on emergency depending on the severity of the situation, such as rape, armed robbery, kidnapping and domestic violence, among others. Each of the police commands across the Federation is equipped with the technology to manage its own operation based on the emergency alerts that may be generated locally or as referred from this Nigerian Police National Command Control Center.
Hello, good afternoon. This is the Nigerian Police Emergency Call Center. I'm here, sir. Come up with emergency.
Sergeant Mina Ebiforo is one of the first responders at the Command Control Center, and like her, all other operatives designated to the platform works round the clock to directly create a link between the Nigerian public and the police to enhance an atmosphere where the people can better be served, putting safety and security at their doorsteps. However, in driving the workability of such impact-desiring initiative, experts say awareness amongst the populace is key. So, how much knowledge of the NPF Rescue Me app do Nigerians have?
Have you ever heard of the NPF Rescue Me app?
No, I haven't.
You've never heard anybody talk about it? Or?
No, I haven't.
But how, as a Nigerian, especially at this critical period of the nation's security challenges, how do you feel to realize that you practically have your security at the tip of your finger?
I mean, it actually is a good development if that does exist, and I mean, that will be easy reach to these times, so it's a good development.
Well, it's a beautiful idea to know that I can just place a call across or beep the NPF and then I get a rapid response. I think it's a good one.
I've never heard about it before, so people will need an enlightenment for us to know about it as a citizen of the country.
Security challenges are amongst the most pressing issues Nigerians face daily, and the people say no effort can be too much in the quest to help the populace connect with security agencies for service delivery. Ilyasu Onotu Yakubu, NTA News.
Rebranding the nation and enhancing national security via capacity building and leadership training is the mission of Stand Tall Africa initiative, which has organized a two-day summit tasking key players in the security sector to rise to the challenge of insecurity by standing tall against known state actors. Defense correspondent Naja'atu Tijani has the details.
Every day, they stand against insecurity in the country in one form or another. And